What's up, everyone? Today we got Mr. Chris. Man, I had a great conversation with this guy. He's a former Army Ranger. He talked all about preparing kids early when they're getting into their health and fitness when it comes to working out, different movements to focus on, a little bit about grit, mental toughness. All in all, it was a wonderful conversation. Beth, what you got on this one?
I loved it. I loved how he talked about how we should be problem solvers instead of complainers.
Yep,
I think
yep.
that was really vital and very important.
Yes,
Loved it.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right, we'll see you guys inside. All right, what's up, everyone? Today we got Coach Chris. If you could give us just a quick rundown about yourself and kind of who you are and anything we need to know about you.
Yeah, grew up in Iowa on a farm. Plenty of work ethic there, right? Doing chores in the morning, going to school. My dad was either, hey, you're going to work on the farm or you're going to be an athlete. So I'm
Yep.
like, I think I'll be an athlete. So I was, wrestler, football player, rugby player in college. I really didn't want to go to college, but all my friends were. So it was kind of like, okay, what am I going to do? I'm here to play rugby. And so finally graduated after about 6 years.
Okay.
That whole, make it as long as possible. I ended up getting a degree in health promotion. I'm like, well,
Okay.
what can I do with a health promotion degree? Well, you can go be a personal trainer. So I got an internship at Lifetime Fitness. That's a pretty big gym. People have heard of it.
That's
And
where I work out. Yes, sir.
oh yeah, it's a nice gym. It's
It's a
kind
nice
of
gym.
bougie, it's got all
Uh-huh.
the cool
Yep.
stuff and everything. But I got clients right away in my internship, and I'm like, wait a minute, I think I can make money at this. At the same time, I was in the National Guard, and right during that time frame, we 9/11 had already happened, and I knew at some point it was going to be okay. We're going to deploy. And so fast forward all the way to like 2005, I ended up in Iraq. I did 2 years over there, 2 years because we got extended. It was only supposed to be like I think a 15-month long deployment. It ended up being 22 months.
That's crazy.
And it was during kind of like the heat of the war, really, at that beginning. I mean, a lot of soldiers were dying,
Hmm.
including a roommate of mine. I had another buddy, get injured really bad and got his arm blown off. So
Wow.
it was a kind of a trying time for me in my life. But when I got back to Minnesota finally, I was like, you know what? I love fitness and everything, and it's done me well, but I want to, continue to reach my goals in the Army. So I ended up being like, I volunteered to go to Army Ranger School. And Army Ranger School is a little bit harder than what you would think it is.
I've
Just
heard it's pretty hard,
it's
honestly.
very, very hard.
Yeah, I've heard it's really hard.
So I ended up failing 5 times
No
because of
way.
land navigation, an injury, some other stuff. There are long little stories I can tell. But anyway, I ended up getting the Army Ranger tab and went back to my unit. And it was like, okay, it was just a matter of time before we deploy again. But in those 5 times of failing, I learned so much. And one of them is just never quit. And so now I am this Army Ranger. I got the Army basically giving me money to go to school. So I went and got a master's degree in kinesiology, human
Okay.
movement, exercise science, things like that. And I immediately put that into work with my clients because, in between deployments and in between going to active duty ranger school and things like that, I was getting this higher learning education and still trying to be a personal trainer. So a lot of commotion going on there,
Hmm.
but just ended up being this really kind of like diverse coach that could train athletes, could train, and I got injured all the time. So I knew
Hmm.
corrective exercise. And I'm starting to learn that, there's more to fitness than just, lifting weights. And so this is where I kind of started to come up with the health compass idea.
Okay.
Just to for your
If
view.
you could just kind of because I heard you talk about it, and I
Yeah.
kind of want you to go a little deeper. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So the health compass is north is nutrition, east is exercise, west is wellness, and south is sleep. And these are
Mm,
really the four pillars of health. And that wellness piece is like the mindset and kind of that mind body connection. So there's a lot in that wellness piece. But anyway, I've never had a client, I've never had an athlete, I've never had a student that we can't talk about those four things and improve one thing. So, for your listeners, just as you're listening to this podcast, I want to ask yourself, what's the one thing that you can improve right now in nutrition, exercise, wellness, mindset, and
Hmm.
sleep? What can you do right now? And that is your program moving forward right now. You could take those four things, that's just that one thing, and be like, okay, that's
Hmm.
what I'm going to focus on for the win for today. And that's the whole point of even Ranger School is like, I just got to win today. I just got to get through today. And that's like in combat too. If you're deployed, just get through today.
And
Win today.
I think that also, because again, we're talking to homeschooling families here, and it translates really well because obviously it is no way as stressful as deployment or something like that. But you're facing a new challenge every day. And if you could just learn to focus on just winning that day, like you're saying, when you're in the moment,
Mhm.
everything else kind of starts to fall into place. But the reason I love that compass thing is because it's so simple. You have everything you need to be considered healthy, I guess. And it's
Mhm.
just, okay, where in my life do I need to focus right now? For some people, it's going to be the nutrition. Some people,
Yeah.
it's going to be the sleep. But whatever it is, it's just a very simple way you put it. That's why I like this so much. And then even going back to when you were in Army school, you said, you learned a lot through those five failures.
Mhm.
So a homeschooling parent listening to this, you can have multiple failures. And for you, I'm guessing it's not like you start back over day one. There's I'm guessing a period in the middle, right? Before you go back and start again. Is that how it works? So
Yeah, you do.
you
Day
even
one.
had you day one. So you even had to go back and then reset physically and mentally.
Yeah.
So for these parents, I think that it's just ultra important that you come out win the day, but also understanding that failure is not the end. It's simply, okay, this is where I need to make the adjustment at. Like you said, okay, this is where I got to figure out how to read the land better or whatever you said. Um, Now when it comes to like parents, a lot of what we preach is the kids are going to get what the parents are modeling, you know? So when it comes to
Yeah.
fitness and health, what can parents do to kind of just set up those standards that, okay, this is what we do as a household. Like this is how we model it. And for
Mhm.
someone that's maybe not in the fitness atmosphere, maybe they don't know too much about nutrition and sleep, where's the easy place for them to start? And where do you think on that compass they should start with?
Look at the day, look at the individual. I always like to customize everything individually, but look
Mm-hmm.
at their day and how it's set up. Do you have breakfast? Not that you need it, or it should be a thing. Sometimes you can skip that and
Mm-hmm.
go two meals. It's very customized, but just kind of going through the day and looking at, okay, where does this nutrition piece fit in, and how could we curtail just a 1% improvement today and write that down. Sometimes if you see it, then it becomes this task. And once you start to check the boxes and know that you're at least, I got the big pillars completed, it gives
Mm-hmm.
that person that confidence to want to be interested and curious about learning other things because they're already doing the things that are the big pillars of the discipline. A
Mm-hmm.
big part of being disciplined is doing something when you don't feel like it, and at least laying the format down for the young athlete or student to go, okay, I know you don't like to do this, but by doing it, you are demonstrating your resolve, you're demonstrating discipline, you're demonstrating grit,
Mm-hmm.
perseverance, all these things, and you know those things are good, right? And you like X, you like this superhero, you like this athlete. So kind of
Mm-hmm.
like curtailing it in a way so this kid gets it a little bit. He's like, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
want to be like that person. Well, what do you think that person does on a day-to-day basis? Do you think they skip that? Do you think they don't do that when they don't feel like it? No. The person that you admire the most is doing those things. And so
Mm-hmm.
they have that motivation to want to do it too, but it's curtailed and custom to that student.
No, I love that. And I can also brings me back to when because I was homeschooled my whole life, and for us, it was you're either during the day, you're either focusing on your school, you're outside playing, or you're focusing better on your craft. So for all of us, it was kind of
Yeah.
different. Me and my brother both fell into baseball. My sister was more like Muay Thai kickboxing, but we were always and my parents did a good job of that. Like, okay, well, this like they'd find professional athletes. Okay, what are their daily regimens training looks like? Like, okay, well, if this is where you want to go. This is what this guy who's there is already has to do every single day. So if you don't want to go to the cage and get the extra reps, well, that's not really where you want to go, you
Mhm.
know? And I think that's very true for health too, because at the end of the day, kids need like heroes in their lives to try to chase after, and finding someone that, like you said, okay, they look up to you, they look up to this person. What are they doing? It gives them that little game plan and that
Yeah.
playbook to run. Now, when it comes to lifting weights, I don't think that there's a too young of an age to start. Obviously, you don't want kids, moving around weights they're not supposed to be moving. But I think, the earlier you get a kid lifting weights or moving functionally, the better. Now, when it comes to weightlifting, would you caution parents before kids get into it, or you think it's okay for them to kind of start
Yeah,
whenever
that's a
they're
great
ready?
question. That's a great question. And I get that a lot. It's like if the parent can kind of suspect that this kid is starting puberty
Mm,
right around that, where the hormones are starting to
yep.
change, you almost want to match that with like, okay, let's bump that exercise regimen up. And if that means resistance training, it could even be bands,
Hmm.
balls, maybe some type of resistance in any way. I mean, there's so many products out there. That's when I would match that. But beforehand, I'm double making sure that they got the body weight movements down really well. They can get a pull up, or at least the mechanics of a pull up. They can get
Hmm.
good, really good, clean press, both horizontally and vertically. Their squat pattern looks really good and there's no mobility issues. So we've really mastered almost gymnastics in a way, which is
Mm,
like the greatest sport or the greatest
yeah.
thing to put your kid in a very young age, and they can grow out of that, but they will always become a really good athlete if they have that kind of that gymnastic
So
wrestle,
true.
high combative
Hmm.
type of thing background, because they're not scared of getting on the ground. And now when they apply force to, let's say, barbell, kettlebell, dumbbell, anything like that, they move so much better, and they understand bracing, they understand
Hmm.
coupling, they understand rolling. And so that's really my answer, is like, we always want to move first, move well first and then move often. And if that means weightlifting around 11, 12, then that's a great age. But, it doesn't have to look like, the Arnold Schwarzenegger. It can look like a medicine ball or a
Yep.
kettlebell, or, something like that.
Which, and then you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it's more important to be the functional movements, being able to move that medicine ball, being able to do different
Yeah,
things, than it is to sit there and do seated bicep curls.
for sure. Compound
So
movements.
compound movements. And then I know you talked about you deal with a lot with the injuries, kind of the preventative side of it, right? So say parents, okay, they're homeschooling, they're getting their kids in the gym. What are some things they can do to, like, the mobility you said, to increase their mobility, but to
Yeah,
really kind of prepare them body? I know you had the one, like the squat you talked about on the Drop
yeah.
and Balance podcast, but if you could kind of dive into that for me a little bit.
So, kind of two things. To prevent injury, we always want a good braking system, meaning eccentric or
Mm,
negative training. If I can slow a squat down really slow and show you every little bit of that range of motion with precision, and I can do that with lunge, I can do that with hinge. So, just as a quick review, there's 7 fundamental movement patterns. The lower body is locomotion, which we know as
mm,
just walking, but it could be jogging, it could be
mm,
running, it could be sprinting, but it's also crawling, right? So
mm.
we got locomotion, we have squatting, okay, and different forms of squatting, single leg squatting, offset squatting, like front squatting, back squatting. We have lunge and all the different various types of lunging, lateral lunging, rotation lunges, things like that. And then we have that hinge. So locomotion, squat, lunge, hinge is the lower body. And then the
Okay.
upper body, we have push, both horizontal and vertical. And then we
Okay.
have pull, both horizontal and vertical. And then the
Mm,
last one, number 7, is rotation, which really all movements have some type of rotation. So to prevent injury, do I have competence in the 7 fundamental movement patterns? And so I like to explain it like this. There's 5 P's of movement. The first P is all of those patterns I just got explaining, those 7 patterns. So patterns, then we have positions, because all those squat positions, all those lunge positions, all of those locomotion positions, all of those push and pull, you get it? We have
hmm.
positions. And then the third P is practice. Are you practicing those? So I don't even look at workouts. I just say movement practice. We're showing up to practice today. And then number
I
four,
like it.
yeah. And number four is, hey, what about my posture? Head
Hmm.
postures. Where am I at right now? How am I even talking with you? Most people are kind of in this rounded posture.
Yeah, I was just in it right now when you're talking to me.
I mean, it's just like, and every time I say posture,
You got to sit up.
even the listeners right now are like, oh, let me just get up a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the last one to bring it all together is play.
I
And
love
with
that.
young athletes and with young people, if you can gamify it somehow, all of a sudden they're in.
Hmm.
Me and you grew up in a PE class where we did dodgeball. We played this
Hmm.
sport, we played that sport, and it was a game, and that's how they taught physical education. So if I can put the 5 Ps into a physical education program, look, I know I'm going to win and I'm going to win for life.
I love that. I love that. And then as far as when it comes to types of exercises, when I was growing up, we had to be up at 7 o'clock, and then 5 days a week we ran 3 miles, had to do 100 push-ups and 100 pull-ups before we could start the day.
Oh, I love
Um, Now I know people probably thought my mom was like crazy. 7 o'clock in the morning, she has her kids out there running. She's like standing over them, watching them
your
do
mom's
push-ups.
weird.
Yeah, no, she is. She is. All in a good way though. But when it
Yeah,
comes
absolutely.
to little things like when the basics, because for me it's about just getting them to adapt an active life. Like no matter, it could be looking different for everyone. Some people maybe they're going running on the beach. Some people maybe they're swimming at a pool. What are some things that you should do to really kind of push your kids in that direction? Like you said about the playing, we have the
Mhm.
modeling, but when it comes to those like younger ages to really build that habit, should they be out there running or is that not good for the body? I don't know. Should they be swimming? Like, what are some things they can do to kind of just gear them into living that healthy, active life?
Kind of curtailing it to the individual. The parents
Okay.
know their kids really well. I'm living here in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, here for the winter, and
Okay.
this is Ski Town, USA, and everyone skis. And these kids, I'm telling you, they're like, there's 11 Olympic athletes
No
from
way.
this town
Are
that
you
went to the
kidding me?
Olympics this past winter. Yeah, from this town. And so seeing that and living in that and being around that, I'm like, what do these kids do? They're on the hill every day. They're on the
Hmm.
mountain every day. So
Yep.
what I would say just for the parents is like, what does your kid love? If they like hacky sack or if they're getting into pickleball already,
Hmm.
like let's do that. But let's do
Love it.
it with intention. That's my answer. Do it with intention and do it with some type of like love. And we've all seen the parents that like push their kid. But I'm from Minnesota, so they like a lot of hockey players. And dad was a hockey player, mom was even maybe a hockey player, and
Hmm.
they force the kid to play hockey until they find out, oh, hockey's hard. Hockey takes a lot of practice. Hockey's all these things. And it's like the kid doesn't even want to do it.
Hmm.
And now
Yep.
they hate exercise. And now they get to college and they're like, that's the defiant age bracket
Yep.
of life. I'm going to do whatever mom and dad don't want me to. And then
Yep.
they hate exercise. So my encouragement would be whatever that kid is really passionate about, feed it,
I
feed them.
love it. I
And
love that.
now, whatever exercise we're talking about or trying to get them to do, there should be maybe that discipline factor. There should be that, all the 5 Ps factor.
Hmm.
And there should be like, what does he really enjoy to do? And I don't have to tell him. He just does it anyway. That's awesome.
Yep. 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 All right. So when it kind of switching back to the parents here, like I know you work with teachers, so obviously
Mhm.
not all homeschooling parents are certified teachers. A lot are, but not all of them. Um, they're probably not dealing with the same stress of having 30 other people's kids in their
Yeah.
classroom. You know what I mean? So it's probably not all the way the same, but it's stressful in its own ways. What are some things that parents can do when maybe they don't have a lot of time? Maybe they do need to just, get that where they can reset their brain. But
Yeah.
what are some simple things and maybe the introductions for the parents that don't really have a habit of it doing yet that can
Mhm.
kind of open the door for them to get that outlet that they need?
Yeah. I call them movement snacks.
Okay, I like it.
Movement snack is like, okay, we got a little bit of break here. Go do something physical.
Mm.
Now,
Which
even
is, go
yeah,
ahead,
even
go
if
ahead.
it's walking.
Yep.
We can like I was on the American Ninja Warrior.
Were you
Ran
really?
yeah, 2016 military episode.
No way.
I fell,
Oh
and they
man.
didn't put me on. I fell on I got to the fourth obstacle.
Nice, nice.
In your backyard, do you have a little Ninja Warrior thing set up? Do you have
Hmm.
some type of fun function? They can just make it up, but it's a snack. Hey, knock out some pull-ups, knock out some monkey bar stuff,
Yep.
knock out some type of like just fun little game. You know what I mean? Like throw a ball up on a wall on one
Yep.
foot, then throw it with your other arm. And you got to get 10 catches with your right and 10 catches with your left, and then movement snack over. Let's get back to mathematics.
I love that. I love that, man. I love that. All right. And then when it comes to athletes, a lot of homeschooling families, they're gonna have like a lot of, not a lot, but there are a lot of kids that homeschool specifically so they can have more time to focus on whatever kind of athletics they're pursuing.
Yeah.
When it comes to training specifically
Mhm.
for a sport, I know you have the core movements are probably big, but what are some things parents can do to kind of raise their IQ and their kids' IQ when it comes down to, okay, the reason I'm asking this question is because baseball was my life. So I would research, okay, what muscles do you use the most? What muscles should I be working on more than others? And it allowed me to kind of fall in love with working out because I was exploring it, looking into different things, trying different things. And I feel like for the athletes out there, it's not only going to improve their performance on the field, working out specifically towards what they should be doing, but it's also going to, like you said earlier, it's going to get them interested to where their brain's moving, and then they're doing the research themselves. Oh, okay, maybe I need to be more explosive off the line. What do I got to do here? I want to throw faster. I got to work out my rear delts. I got to make sure my destabilizers are doing good. So what are some things parents can do? It can just be like podcasts, books, but anything to kind of get them the basics to get that information in front of their kids.
I hope I answered this question good. I'm going to talk about this kid just real briefly. His name was PJ Jones, and I trained this kid from seventh grade all the way up until his college. He's at Maryland right now. He's on a full baseball contract.
Wow.
Believe this kid will be in the pros. PJ Jones the second.
The second. It's a good
The
name, man.
second.
That's a
He's
that's a
playing for
that's a
Maryland.
name.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
His dad's a really nice guy, and he hired me to help his kid, and we started very early. And the thing with PJ was we wanted to hit home runs, right? And that every kid wants to hit the home run. So what we worked with him with his hip rotation, we
Mm,
would just do these little movements to kind of stimulate swing in the bat and visualize, which is another great skill to do, is visualize every little part of a perfect swing. I would tell PJ, I'm like, envision a curveball, see it in slow motion all the way to you actually making full eye contact at the right moment of collision with the bat and the ball, and use visualization.
mm,
So I like, and just to answer the question, is like, I like using the kids' curiosity, imagine just the thing that they want to do in another context, and just slow it down. And so feeding the brain with like reaction with movement, just it's almost like they have to feed it from another aspect. When you go up to bat, you've already visualized the entire thing,
yeah.
so hopefully that answers your question.
No, it does. It does because it'll be different for. I mean, I know like snowboarding and skiing, but I would imagine like certain turns you're taking certain ways. But I also feel like for the kid, getting their brain involved in that. Not only are you now taking mental reps, hitting a curveball, and I'm hitting it perfectly. I'm feeling, you know what I mean. But
Yeah,
also you're getting that mind body connection. You're kind of building it through actual movement, seeing
you've
it to
done
where
it
when.
1,000 times in your head, and when you
Mhm.
do it, it's like you knew it was going to happen even before it happened.
Mhm.
That type of confidence.
I love that. I love that. Now, Miss Beth, do you have any questions? I know we're kind of getting close to the end here. I want to make sure I don't
Yeah, that's
exclude you
fine. I
out
was
of
gonna
here.
speak up anyway. I just wanted to ask, kind of to go off of your military experience. I know the military is big into grit, mental endurance, and resilience. How would you suggest homeschool families build that into their lifestyle, whether it's like a mental approach or a physical fitness approach?
I think the draw for the student, and eventually, if they feel like they want to even take on the military or something like that, I honestly feel like they got to have that deep-rooted love for their country. That
Mm-hmm.
might be tough to do sometimes with all the
Hmm.
bombardment of political this and that and
Yep.
whatever. But like this place is pretty awesome and it
Hmm.
is worth fighting for.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't like what's going on, put your name up and have a solution and be
Yeah.
Hmm. Yep.
like
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
and if you're always the person coming into the discussion or the debate or the whatever it is with solutions, not complaining,
Yes.
Mm,
anyone can complain. So I'm thinking military people, okay, great. We're in this situation. We can complain about it and die, or we can come up with solutions right now
mm-hmm.
that we've already practiced with contingency plans and all of that. So
Mm-hmm.
really, we got to conjure up the reasons why we love our community, we love our state, we love our country, we love
Mm-hmm.
we have problems. But are you going to be the one that's going to help solve those problems? Or are you just going to
Hmm.
add
Mm,
the confusion? Like,
Yep.
have your
yeah,
son or daughter be the one that's like, I'm a solution oriented thinker. I'm going
that's
to
Hmm.
great.
solutions and how I can be a part of the solution, not the problem.
Exactly.
I love that. That's
Exactly.
so important. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have to hop off, and I wish I could keep talking to you,
Yeah,
dude.
man. Yeah, it's a
It's,
cool conversation.
oh, yes, sir. Is there? I know we have your Instagram, and I'm gonna get all the links and we'll make sure we include it all there. The Instagram you said is the best place to find you.
Yeah, I mean, from there you're gonna find like a link tree.
Okay.
I got the teachers channel where I kind of like, have like some of the Health Compass course. I also have this thing called it's called School,
Okay. Yep.
School, and it's really where it's just another resource for people to go and get a little bit more information on the Health Compass.
I love that.
Me, but honestly, I got my email up on my social. I respond to almost everybody, unless it somehow went to spam. But, I'm in that phase of my career right now where, hey, have 1,000 plates out there and be willing to take the opportunities that are given to you. And then if it works, it works. And then I go full on,
I love
so
it.
that's how it's done.
We'll make sure to try to hope to add some more plates to you out there.
Yeah, sure. I'll fry them up. Let's
All
do it.
right. All right, brother. Thank you so much again, man.
Thank
We
you
appreciate
very
it.
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
All right. Bye bye.